The electric SUV world is changing faster than ever, and BMW just dropped one of its most important vehicles of the decade. This is the 2026 BMW iX3, the first mainstream EV built on BMW's revolutionary new E-Class architecture, a platform engineered from scratch to redefine efficiency, technology, and driving feel. BMW calls this SUV a reset button for the brand, and for good reason. Right off the bat, the 2026 iX3 delivers a sleeker, more aerodynamic profile with drag improvements that contribute to up to 25% better efficiency compared to the outgoing model. Beneath its sculpted exterior sits a new generation BMW eDrive motor offering higher power density, improved cooling, and faster sustained acceleration, with early performance estimates suggesting 0 to 60 miles per hour times dropping into the mid 5-second range, depending on configuration. The battery tech gets a massive leap too. BMW's next-gen prismatic cells with higher nickel content offer 20 to 30% improved energy density, giving the iX3 an expected real-world range of around 300 to 340 miles, and potentially even more in certain trims. Add to that new 800-volt electrical architecture support for faster DC charging, and the iX3 is built for effortless long-distance travel. Inside, BMW's future finally arrives. You're greeted by a wide, curved display floating across a minimalist dash, a redesigned iDrive system that relies more on AI-assisted touch and voice interactions, sustainable high-quality materials, new ambient lighting patterns, and a cabin layout that feels more like a modern lounge than a traditional SUV. Everything feels thoughtfully engineered, from the slimmer seats that increase rear legroom to the thinner pillars improving outward visibility. But here's the thing. Even with all this tech and engineering brilliance, the iX3 still has challenges. Pricing is expected to push into premium territory. Charging performance may vary by region, and competition has never been fiercer, with Tesla, Mercedes, Volvo, and even Hyundai Kia strengthening their EV game. So the question is simple. Is the new BMW i3 the smartest EV SUV you can buy in 2026? Or does it fall short in areas you wouldn't expect? That's why, in this video, we list the 5 major pros and cons of the 2026 BMW iX3. This is Parth, and you are watching MotorNation. Before we jump into today's video, here's something every true car enthusiast will love: our official website, MotorNationGroup.com. It's your go-to destination for everything automotive, from the latest car launches and industry news to detailed reviews, performance breakdowns, comparisons, buyer guides, and even insights into future tech shaping the next generation of vehicles. Join the MotorNation community, where passion meets performance and the drive never stops. Now, let's get into the video. So let's start with the first big advantage. And honestly, it's one that immediately sets the 2026 BMW iX3 apart. Its truly outstanding electric range. BMW has taken a massive leap forward with the new iX3, thanks to its shift to the next-generation new E-Class platform. This upgrade transforms the iX3 into one of the longest-range electric SUVs you can buy. BMW is targeting up to 497 miles of range on the WLTP cycle, and even under the more demanding EPA test. Early estimates put the long-range 50X Drive version at around 380 to 400 miles on a single charge. That is a major jump over the outgoing model and puts it right up there with the best from Mercedes, Tesla, and Lucid. A big part of this improvement comes from BMW's all-new 6th-generation eDrive system. The battery pack now uses high-density prismatic cells with around 20% more energy density and significantly lower internal resistance. That means more usable power, less energy loss, and better real-world efficiency. The pack itself is expected to sit in the 90 to 100 kilowatt-hours usable capacity range, giving the iX3 the stamina needed for long journeys without the constant fear of running low. Charging has also taken a major step forward. With DC fast charging speeds of up to 250 kilowatts, the iX3 can go from 10% to 80% in roughly 26 to 28 minutes, making it practical for long-distance road trips. Even home charging is smoother, thanks to the support for 11 kilowatts AC charging as standard and 22 kilowatts as an option, letting owners top up overnight without hassle. BMW has also refined the SUV's aerodynamics, reducing drag to an estimated 0.26 to 0.27 CD, and improve the efficiency of the motors and regenerative braking system. All of this works together to squeeze more miles from every kilowatt hour, giving drivers not just range on paper, but range they can actually rely on in real-world conditions. In short, the 2026 iX3 finally delivers the kind of long-distance capability buyers expect from a premium EV: smooth, confident, and ready for the road ahead. Moving on, another major reason buyers are excited about the 2026 BMW iX3 is its incredibly fast charging capability, something that finally brings BMW into the top tier of EV charging performance. The new iX3 adopts BMW's next-generation 800-volt electrical architecture, and this change completely transforms how quickly the SUV can recharge. With support for DC fast charging up to 400 kilowatts, it's one of the fastest-charging electric SUVs on the market, right alongside the best from Porsche and Hyundai. What this means in real-life use is simple. You spend far less time at public stations and far more time on the road. BMW says that under ideal conditions, the iX3 can rocket from 10% to 80% in roughly 21 minutes. That's almost half the waiting time of the previous model and noticeably quicker than many direct competitors that max out at 150 to 250 kilowatts. Even on long-distance road trips, this speed keeps the iX3 feeling effortless. You can stop for a quick coffee or bathroom break, and by the time you're back, the SUV has already added hundreds of miles of range. The efficiency gains don't stop there. The improved thermal management system keeps the battery at the ideal temperature for peak charging speeds, even during back-to-back highway fast charges. This ensures consistent performance, not just one-time test figures. Combined with its next-gen battery chemistry and lower internal resistance, the iX3 maintains strong charging power across more of the charging curve, instead of tapering off sharply like older EVs. Overall, this charging speed is a game-changer. It allows the 2026 iX3 to function like a true long-distance electric tourer. Fast to charge, easy to use, and ready for road trips without long waits or complicated planning. And keeping the excitement rolling, another major reason enthusiasts are gravitating toward the 2026 BMW iX3 is the sheer performance this SUV brings to the table. BMW didn't hold back when re-engineering the iX3 for 2026. Its dual-motor setup generates a commanding 463 horsepower and 476 lb-ft of torque. But what really makes this SUV feel special is how instantly that torque arrives. There's no hesitation, no build-up, just a smooth, immediate surge the moment you tap the accelerator. That's why the iX3 rockets from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 4.7 to 4.9 seconds, depending on the wheel and tire setup. For context, that puts it right in the performance zone of sporty V6, powered crossovers, and even edging close to older BMW M models in straight-line speed. But power is only half the story. BMW's new generation xDrive electric all-wheel drive system constantly reads wheel slip, driver input, and road conditions to adjust torque split in fractions of a second. When you're driving in the real world, say, pulling out from a wet intersection or accelerating out of a corner, you feel the SUV actively balancing itself. always pushing just the right amount of power to the front or rear. BMW also fine-tuned the regenerative braking and throttle mapping to make the SUV feel natural at low speeds in city driving. So whether you're threading through traffic or unleashing its power on a highway on-ramp, the iX3 never feels twitchy or unpredictable. It's fast, but always polished. In short, this level of performance isn't just about bragging rights. It makes everyday driving smoother, safer, and more enjoyable. Exactly what buyers expect from a modern EV wearing a BMW badge. Moving forward, another big advantage that separates the 2026 BMW i3 from many other electric SUVs is its full suite of bidirectional charging features, something that adds real, everyday usefulness beyond just driving. The new iX3 supports V2L, V2H, and even V2G capability, which basically means this SUV isn't just an appliance that consumes power, it can give power back. With Vehicle to Load, you can plug in appliances, tools, or electronics directly from the car. Whether you're camping, hosting an outdoor event, or dealing with a power cut, the iX3 can run everything from a coffee maker to a laptop, or even a refrigerator. Take that one step further with Vehicle to Home, and the iX3 can actually act like a temporary home backup battery. During blackouts, storms, or peak energy hours, the SUV can keep essential circuits alive: lights, Wi-Fi routers, fans, maybe even your home office setup. For many buyers, this is an underrated but incredibly valuable feature, especially as weather-related outages become more common. And then there's Vehicle to Grid, the most future-ready capability. The iX3 can send electricity back into the grid during high-demand periods, potentially earning credits or reducing your energy bill, depending on your local utility setup. It turns the SUV into a mobile energy asset, not just transportation. All of this is supported by BMW's 800-volt architecture and upgraded power electronics, which allow the iX3 to deliver stable, high-quality output while still protecting the battery. It's technology you might have expected only in premium EVs from Korea or startups, but now BMW is fully embracing it. In short, the 2026 iX3 isn't just a vehicle you drive. It's a power station, a backup battery, an outdoor generator, and a future-proof piece of home energy tech, all rolled into a luxury SUV. This level of versatility makes it much more useful in the real world, especially for families, travelers, and anyone who loves being prepared. Next up, we have one of the most impressive upgrades on the 2026 BMW iX3, its highly efficient 6th-generation eDrive architecture. BMW's 6th-gen eDrive system represents one of the biggest leaps in the brand's electric technology. Thanks to redesigned motors, more compact power electronics, and a more advanced cooling layout, BMW has managed to cut overall energy losses by nearly 40% compared to its previous generation EVs. That's a massive improvement in real-world terms. It means the iX3 can travel farther on the same amount of energy, stay cooler under heavy loads, and deliver consistent performance even during long drives. The refined powertrain also reduces parasitic losses, things like inverter inefficiencies, magnetic drag, and thermal resistance, helping the iX3 maintain strong efficiency even at higher speeds where EVs typically struggle. Combined with the 800-volt platform, the system can operate more efficiently under heavy load, whether you're overtaking on the highway or driving up steep grades. In everyday use, this translates into smoother power delivery, less energy wasted as heat, and a vehicle that simply feels more advanced and more polished in how it manages power. It's not just about range. It's about an EV that uses every watt more intelligently and more effectively. The result? A driving experience that feels sharper, lighter, and more effortlessly efficient, proving BMW isn't just improving its EVs, it's reinventing how they behave. All right, With the pros covered, it's time to shift gears and look at the areas where the 2026 BMW iX3 still has room for improvement. And the first real drawback is something many EV buyers will immediately relate to: real-world charging performance. On paper, the iX3 is a powerhouse of charging technology. Its 800-volt architecture and peak DC fast charging capability of up to 400 kilowatts make it look like one of the fastest-charging electric SUVs in the segment. BMW even claims a 10 to 80% recharge in about 21 minutes under ideal lab conditions. But the reality on the road can be very different. Most public charging stations, especially across the US and Canada, simply aren't built to unlock that full potential yet. A majority of chargers still operate at 150 kilowatts, and only a limited number, roughly 12 to 15% nationwide, can deliver more than 250 kilowatts. The ultra-fast 350 kilowatts units that could help the iX3 get close to its max rating are still relatively rare, often spaced far apart, and frequently limited by load balancing when multiple cars are plugged in. And even when you do find the right charger, the iX3 won't hold that 400 kilowatts peak for long. Like most EVs, the charge curve tapers quickly to protect the battery, meaning you might briefly touch the max before dropping to more typical speeds. Combine that with temperature impacts, cold winters, hot summers, or a pack that hasn't preconditioned properly, and your real charging time can stretch from the ideal 21 minutes to 35 or even 40 minutes on common 150 kilowatt stations. So while the hardware is cutting-edge and future-proof, the current charging infrastructure means you won't consistently achieve those headline numbers. It's definitely quick, but not always as quick as the spec sheet wants you to believe. Moving on to the next drawback, and this one is directly tied to the 9.3's impressive range numbers: the sheer size and weight of its battery pack. The 2026 BMW iX3 uses a massive 108 kilowatt-hours usable battery, one of the largest packs in the compact to midsize luxury EV segment. While this gives the SUV its long-distance capability, it also brings a significant penalty in terms of weight. According to BMW blog and other early sources, the new iX3 tips the scales between 2,285 and 2,360 kilograms, depending on the trim and wheel configuration. That's roughly 5,035 to 5,200 pounds, putting it well above the weight of many rivals, and even heavier than some full-size gasoline SUVs. This extra mass influences the driving experience. BMW's engineers have worked hard with the 6th-generation eDrive system, improved motor efficiency, and revised chassis geometry to make the iX3 feel agile. But physics is physics. In tight corners or quick directional changes, that weight makes itself known. The suspension has to strike a balance between comfort and control, and even with adaptive dampers, you may feel a bit more body movement compared to lighter EVs like the Mustang Mach-E or the Mercedes EQB. There's also the efficiency angle. While the iX3's improved eDrive tech reduces energy losses by around 40%, a heavier vehicle requires more energy to accelerate, climb, and maintain higher speeds. In real-world mixed driving, that can translate into slightly lower efficiency than what the WLTP or EPA numbers might suggest, especially in stop-and-go traffic or on hilly routes where you're constantly asking the motors to haul around more than 2 tons of SUV. So even though the battery delivers excellent range on paper, the trade-off is a heavier vehicle that can feel less nimble and occasionally less efficient in everyday conditions. And moving to the next con, we have one of the biggest hurdles for many potential buyers: the price. The 2026 BMW iX3 is expected to enter the US market with a starting price of around $60,000 or more for the xDrive 50 model, according to early estimates from Destination, Charged, and industry analysts. And that's just the base. Once you start adding BMW's typical optional packages, upgraded interiors, larger wheels, advanced driver assistance features, premium sound systems, or aesthetic bundles, the price can climb quickly into the mid-$70,000s or even touch $80,000 depending on final US configurations. In comparison, several competitors undercut it. The Tesla Model Y performance often sits lower depending on incentives. And even the Mercedes EQB starts at a significantly cheaper price point, though it offers less range and performance. But the sticker price isn't the only factor. Real-world ownership costs can also go up depending on local charging infrastructure and electricity rates. If fast charging stations near you don't support the iX3's full 400 kilowatts capability, you might end up spending more time, and sometimes more money, on charging than the headline numbers suggest. There's also the uncertain situation with EV tax credits. Depending on where the iX3 is eventually assembled and how BMW configures its supply chain, it may or may not qualify for federal U.S. incentives. If it doesn't, that $60,000 starting point stays firm, making the iX3 a premium choice with no financial relief from government rebates. And when you add home charging installation costs, which can range from $600 to $2,000 depending on your setup, the total cost of EV ownership creeps even higher. So while the iX3 offers impressive technology, range, and performance, its pricing structure will definitely make buyers think twice, especially when cross-shopping in a competitive EV SUV segment. Now moving on to another practical downside, the cargo space. And this is where the 9.3 might feel a bit limiting for some buyers. The 2026 BMW iX3 offers around 30.4 cubic feet of cargo volume behind the second row, according to Car Gurus, which is perfectly usable for day-to-day needs, groceries, luggage, strollers, or a couple of weekend bags. But when you compare it with other midsize or even compact electric SUVs in the segment, the numbers start to show their limitations. Vehicles like the Tesla Model Y, for example, push well beyond 30 CUFD, and larger options like the Mercedes EQE SUV or Audi Q8 e-tron offer significantly more rear cargo capacity. So while the iX3 space is functional, it isn't class-leading. BMW does include a frunk of about 58 liters, enough for charging cables, a laptop bag, or smaller essentials. But it doesn't dramatically shift overall practicality. With the rear seats folded, the cargo room improves substantially, yet the sloping rear design and compact overall footprint still mean you're not getting the same hauling capability that larger EV SUVs provide. And for families who often travel with a lot of gear, or for buyers who need more room for camping equipment, pets, sports gear, or road trip essentials, the iX3 may start to feel a bit tight. So in terms of storage flexibility, the iX3 performs well enough for urban or light-use buyers. But if spaciousness and maximum cargo versatility are priorities, some competitors simply offer more room to grow into. And now, another important drawback to consider, the real-world range variation. On paper, the 2026 BMW iX3 looks incredible, with BMW projecting up to around 497 miles WLTP and roughly 400 miles EPA equivalent for the 50X Drive model. But as with many EVs, those numbers don't always translate perfectly to everyday driving. Early discussions from EV owners on platforms like Reddit and other forums suggest that the actual range can dip noticeably depending on conditions. For example, cold weather driving, especially in temperatures below 5 degrees Celsius 41 degrees Fahrenheit, can cut range by 15 to 30% due to battery chemistry and heating demands. Mixed driving with frequent stops, high-speed highway runs at 70 to 80 miles per hour, or hilly terrain can also reduce efficiency significantly. And because BMW's estimates are based on ideal conditions, the practical figure many drivers might see could land closer to 300 to 340 miles, depending on usage. This isn't unique to BMW. Nearly every EV faces some degree of seasonal or environmental range loss. But because the iX3's headline numbers are so impressive, expectations are naturally higher. So if you're planning long road trips, rely heavily on highway travel, or live in areas with harsh winters, it's important to understand that the real-world performance may not always match those optimistic lab-tested ratings. In short, the range is excellent on paper, but depending on how and where you drive, results can vary more than some buyers expect. And that wraps up our look at the 5 pros and 5 cons of the 2026 BMW iX3, a premium electric SUV that blends outstanding engineering with a forward-looking EV experience. On the positive side, the iX3 stands out with its exceptional projected range, ultra-fast 400 kilowatts charging capability, impressive dual-motor performance, bidirectional power features, and BMW's highly efficient 6th-generation eDrive system. These strengths put it right at the forefront of modern electric SUV design. But like every EV, it comes with factors worth considering. Real-world charging speeds may not always match the ideal numbers. The large battery adds weight that affects overall dynamics. Pricing is steep, especially before options. Cargo space isn't the most generous in the segment. And as with many high-range EVs, real-world mileage may vary more than expected depending on climate and driving style. So, is the 2026 BMW iX3 right for you? If you're searching for a refined, highly advanced electric SUV with next-level efficiency and state-of-the-art charging tech, this could be the perfect fit. But if practicality, budget, or long-distance consistency are your top priorities, you may want to weigh these factors carefully before making the leap. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more in-depth automotive reviews, EV guides, and 2026 model year insights, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to MotorNation, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. I'll see you in the next one.